it's great to be home.
Just stay in the moment and chop.
Thanks for tuning in to more college football talk on the Our-Lads Football Network as we premiere a new show. Last year, we had several NFL team shows, including my favorite team, the New York Jets, and we continue to do that on Jets FM for 2021. Our New England Patriots show will pick up again after last season with Evan Lazar of CLNSmedia.com. So we'll be previewing the Patriots season in about a week, and then we'll be picking up on a weekly show with Evan once again. But in college football, this is going to be the first opportunity for us to have a team weekly show. And that means why not dip into my old stomping grounds, New Jersey. That's where I'm from. This is a perfect time to start the Rutgers show. And that's what we're going to do. And even though Ryan Dunleavy, who will be my co-host on some of these shows, he is a Rutgers alum, couldn't make it here today. Schedule, of course, working out with the NFL teams at training camp. Ryan will be on with me tomorrow when we have Eric LeGrand as our guest. But we are going to start the first Rutgers show here on our network with Richie Schnyderite. And Richie is the publisher of Rivals, Rutgers Rivals. So if you want to find out anything about Rutgers football, Richie knows what he's talking about. And that's the reason why we are so happy to have him on the first show. Rich, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me and enjoying a nice summer evening. Hoping to talk a little Rutgers football with you guys.
We were supposed to do it actually a few hours ago, but the weather, I guess, is that the reason that the practice schedule got screwed up?
Yeah, pretty much. It was really rainy this morning, so they had to push it back a little bit. They want to get it as game-like as possible, so they didn't really want to go to the inside the bubble and all that stuff. So, yeah, it got backed up a little bit. But I'm here now, and I'm here ready to talk some Rutgers football.
All right. So you are an alum, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When did you graduate?
2018.
2018. Wow. Just a couple years ago. Excellent.
I know. Yeah, I did the good old 6-year plan.
All right. Well, got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I got done. That's all that matters.
You made it. That's all that counts. Publisher of Rivals, Rutgers Rivals. How long have you been doing that for?
Probably, I guess it's 3 years. A little over 3 years now.
As soon as you graduated?
No, I actually started, publisher, right as soon as I graduated. And then before that, I was covering recruiting. I was covering a team a little bit here and there. I kind of dabbled in just about everything, and I took over and do the same thing now. I dabble in every sport. Every recruiting for baseball, basketball, football, et cetera, et cetera. Anything Rutgers, I'm there pretty much.
Good. Then anytime we get to the point where we want to talk some basketball, we can do that as well because I'm a huge basketball fan too. So
hey, whatever you want to talk about.
Pumped up after what took place last year. So can't wait. And I just really excited too about everything that's going on with the university. That's why I said I think it's the perfect time to start this show because with Schiano coming back on board. Mm-hmm. And just the news that you hear if you follow the team recruiting wise is just amazing. And it gets you so excited about the possibilities in the near future.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible. The fact that they got 3 wins in Schiano's first year with a team that I want to say at least 80 to 90% wasn't his recruits. It's kind of crazy. You didn't really have an off season for the sole fact of the season was canceled and then it wasn't canceled. And then I think they had like less than 30 days to prepare last year. And it was completely hectic, insane. And he's starting to get more of his guys. They're starting to get more comfortable. They got their first training camp. They're about to finish up, I think, Wednesday or Thursday. I forget exactly which day it is. But there's a lot of excitement around the program right now.
Yeah. And as we go through this preview, which is I think perfect that we actually have you on the first show, because this gives us an opportunity to break down the offense, the defense, the special teams, the coaching staff, and also dabble into some of the key recruits. That's the thing that is really also going to be very exciting. Not just some of the players to keep an eye on who are true freshmen this year, but some of the players to keep an eye on starting next year. And of course, that's a really good recruiting class. Where is that ranked right now, the 2022 class?
Right now, I believe it's ranked 24 or 25. I think I checked this morning. It said 24.
What do you think it's going to finish?
Yeah, I think they just have a crazy class right now. I think they have 7 4-stars, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
There's another that's probably going to get his 4th-star eventually in Davison Igbinison, defensive back out of Union. But overall, it's just they got the number 1 kid out of Kentucky, number 1 kid out of New York, number 1 and 2 out of New Jersey. I think a top 40, top 30 kid out of Florida, a couple Pennsylvania guys. It's a whole mixture of guys, but it's incredible what he's been able to do.
All right. Well, Schiano, he's the one on board. 21 returning starters. You know, when you hear that initially, like a few months ago, you're like, wow, starters. That must be amazing. And then when you start really doing your research around college football, you start realizing that unless you're Alabama, Ohio State, you know, some of the teams that lose all their top players to the NFL draft, most of the teams in college football are bringing back like around 17 to 20 returning starters. So it helps, but it's not like a major advantage.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. That whole COVID-free year kind of gave everyone a chance to come back. The only 2 they lost are 2 guys that were actually with the Jets this training camp in Brendan White, safety, and then defensive tackle Michael Dwumfor. But other than that, they still have 21 guys, like you said, technically, because Brendan White kind of missed some time, so you could technically say there's only 20 coming back. But overall, the team returns just about everyone, and they added a couple transfers too. So it's going to be an interesting depth chart.
All right, let's break it down, starting with the offense. And Noah Vedral is basically a placeholder. It's really what he is, because and I got to tell you, I'm actually a little bit nervous about what I've been hearing. Because when the staff is asked about how the quarterback situation is and how Noah's doing, not like they're talking glowingly about his performance. He's doing okay. He could do better. And usually you would think a coaching staff would talk up a player even when he's not playing really well. So I don't know if that's just psychologically they think he's the type of player that they feel that they should talk the way that they are regarding the press. But that makes me nervous because Noah was very inconsistent last year.
Yeah, so the thing is, this is like the first time in, I guess, since Schiano's first tenure around that they haven't really had an open quarterback competition. Like even when Tom Savage was All-American or freshman All-American, the next season there was still an open comp, and they didn't have that this year. Vedral kind of came in as the number 1 guy without a doubt. So I think it might just be a little bit more of motivation, like kind of see like Vedral seeing these videos and being like, damn, like our coach doesn't think I did good today. I got to do better. I got to do better. And then hopefully that's what I think they're kind of hoping is going to happen and something's going to click. But overall, he's a pretty good game manager. He doesn't have insane physical tools or the mechanics or anything like that. But overall, he'll get the ball where it needs to be. And that's kind of all you can ask. And then let the playmakers do the work at that point.
Yeah, the deep passing game is suspect. There's no question about that. That's where the arm strength and the downfield accuracy is just not going to be there. But the fact that he's coming back for a second straight year, same offense, same coordinator, Gleason, that's huge. As we know as Rutgers fans, how rare is it to have a lot of these coaches back again, especially the coordinators?
I think it's technically the first time in 12 or 13 years that they've had an offensive coordinator return for a second season. It's
crazy.
It's kind of crazy to say that, but it's going to pay off a lot of dividends. Just having that whole training camp, like I said before, just having that for a change is helping these guys a ton. Having spring ball helped a ton. Just to build, I think Gleason originally said that he only installed about like 50% of his playbook last year just due to all the constraints that he had.
That makes sense.
So now this time around, you can get that, hopefully, the 100% of the playbook. And I think it's going to be a fun offense to watch at the end of the day.
What happens if Vedral gets hurt? Because he probably will. He's that type of guy. So who comes in? Is it Cole Snyder?
Honestly, it's still an open competition.
Do you believe that?
Yes. We're at practice every day, and I can't reveal too much from that, but it is 100% a still open competition. It's between Schneider and Simon, obviously. Langen's is like, I don't know what you want to call him at this point. He could do just about anything, but he's part this part, that, and he plays just about every position. But it's definitely between Simon and Schneider, and I think it might be an open competition throughout the season. I mean, Greg might have a guy, God forbid, that if Vedral does go down, like you're going to go first. But if that guy struggles, they might just switch and
that makes sense.
Go back and forth.
Yeah. Gavin Wimsett, you talked about the quarterback that the team picked up when we spoke a few minutes ago from Kentucky.
Yeah.
So he comes in next year, and unless Vedral has a phenomenal season that we're not expecting, chances are, if he's as good as advertised, he's going to start next year.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably the odds-on favorite to start next year. He's a top 100 kid in the country. He's, I think, the number 3 dual threat per our rankings. The kid's phenomenal. He adds that dual threat factor that Rutgers doesn't technically have right now. Yes, Vedral can move. He's got a little bit of mobility, but I don't even know who to compare Wimsat to. It's just he's such a phenomenal quarterback. He's got a strong arm. He's accurate. Can throw on the run. He struggled a little bit in the Elite 11 recently, but other than that, like his film doesn't lie. There's a reason he's a top 100 kid.
Yeah, look, I hope Vedral plays really well and starts next year. But it's a great sign that Rutgers finally has himself a quarterback, and hopefully even Wimsett will be able to bridge maybe another 2 or 3 years before another recruit comes in, because this is the first time. I don't even remember. Maybe Savage. You think was Savage like the last quarterback that we've had that was actually like a true, this guy has all the goods, even though I know Sitkowski came in with the billing, but that was just shows you the star form, 3 stars, 4 stars. You got to take it like a grain of salt, because Sitkowski never looked like a 4-star.
Yeah.
Or a 3-star. I don't even know. What was he, a 3 or a 4?
He was 4 originally. Then we dropped him down to a 3 in the final rankings. But I actually like Sitkowski a lot. Mechanically wise, he was phenomenal. He had the arm strength, the NFL overall talent. It's just he couldn't put it together on the field, and maybe he got thrown out to the Wolves a little bit too soon by Chris Ash, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
But I think Wimsat, as long as everything goes to plan, I think Wimsat's day 1 starter, and I think Vedral might still be back another year and back him up at least.
Okay, now the running game, Pacheco. We know how good Pacheco is. Question is going to be, is he capable of taking it to another level?
I'm going to say yes. They did a lot of outside runs last year with him, and I think they kind of realized that those things weren't working whatsoever. He's more of an in-between the tackles type of guy that's going to break a few here and there and then burst open for like a 60-yard gain randomly.
Yeah.
He looks thinner this year with a little more muscle, a little more chiseled, I guess you could say.
Okay.
He has like an extra little step to him this season, which it's kind of interesting. So we'll see, but I mean, I'm pretty confident he's going to play a lot of snaps this year.
Yeah, because when he started to play as a freshman, I was like, wow. I mean, he's only a freshman. He looks like this, but it just seems like he hasn't taken that next step since then. Sometimes that happens to kids. So hopefully this is the year. The combination of your body, the team in front of you, which we'll get to in a little bit, talking about the offensive line is going to be the best line that he's going to run behind.
Yeah.
The second year in the offense. That's why I'm saying I hope this is we're going to see an Isaih Pacheco that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, no. Like I said, he's got that extra step this year, so I really think he's going to have a little bit more speed here and there. And I think he caught a couple passes last year, but I think overall he'll be like that almost every down back.
And Aron Young, he's the clear number 2. So percentage, give me a percentage between Young and Pacheco snaps. Is it like 90, 95%? Is it that much?
I wouldn't go that high. I'd probably say it's around like 85-15 around there, maybe. Yeah, but it's going to be the Pacheco show for the most part. He can do it all. He can block, he can catch, he can run, he can anything you really want from the guy, he'll do.
2022, the team brings in Samuel Brown, the 4-star running back from Pennsylvania. So we just talked about a 4-star quarterback who's the talk of the program, but 4-star running back Samuel Brown. How does he fit in? Is he the type of running back that could actually be a part of the offense as early as next year? And does that all depend if Pacheco's still around?
Yeah, I mean, I guess right away you just brought up the good point. If Pacheco's still around, I don't think anyone's really touching his spot. Overall, Brown's an intriguing player. He's got really good vision. Number one, that's like the biggest thing that pops off his tape. He's also a very patient runner, and that's huge, obviously, and for any running back. He kind of sits there and waits for the gap to open. Once that gap opens, he hits it pretty fast. And then at the end of his tape, you kind of see that he's a pretty good pass catcher too. So he kind of has that whole tool set that you kind of want in a well-rounded running back, and he'll fit the offense pretty well as soon as he gets here. But again, it's going to be tough with guys like I'm trying to think. Aaron Young's still here for another year. If Pacheco comes back, he'll be here in front of him. Kyle Monangai's making a little bit of noise here and there.
Okay.
So I mean, they got some
three,
dudes.
Kyle.
More than likely, yes.
Okay. All right, tight end. Now, nothing out of the tight end position in 2020. But from what we're seeing already out of Haskins, the transfer from West Virginia, who was with us last year, and also Konopka, who had a huge spring with those big catches. I mean, Konopka is the one that really is getting all of Rutgers fans excited because they see the athleticism and the inexperience in football, and they go, wow, just wait a couple of years till this guy figures out how to play football.
Yeah. No, he's an intriguing one. Just being a basketball player until I guess senior year, and then he got kind of sent over to prep school and played prep school football at Blair Academy, and right away Rutgers I think offered him almost immediately, and he's an intriguing prospect. A lot of basketball players turn into tight ends actually end up working out.
Yes,
but I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can't really name one, but I think Jeff Samardzija would. No, Jeff Samardzija was baseball. I can't really think of one off the top of my head.
Oh, you
I had
mean like a tight end? Well,
yeah, like a basketball to tight end.
I think was Antonio Gates was.
Yes. There you go. I'm always blanking a little bit, but
That's okay.
Other than him, Giovanni Haskins is a little thinner this year. Another guy who kind of added some muscle. Former preseason All Big 12 third team, I think it was at West Virginia tight end. So he has the tools to put it together. He's had a big high school career. He never put it together at the college level yet. Suffered a couple injuries at West Virginia. I don't know if he was fully healthy or not last year. It didn't look like he was. But another year into Gleason and the whole offense is it's going to be interesting. You saw, like you said, in the spring game, he looked good.
Yeah.
Konopka looked good. Even Tajay Moore looked good in the spring game.
Okay.
So there's a couple different guys there that they might mix in. And I know last year Rutgers loved those 2 tight end sets just to get that extra blocker in there too to help give a guy like Noah Vedral a little bit more time.
And again, it shows you the star situation because Matt Alamo, it was like, oh, we lost him out to UCLA. Then he comes back and it's like, well, I guess, he hasn't really taken off. He's one of these guys that was supposed to be like a big time recruit. And for whatever reason, he just hasn't really materialized. Have you seen anything within Matt Alamo that gives you any indication that he's just going to be a late bloomer, or was he just overrated?
No, he's another one that actually I should have named him too in that little tight end group that I just named. But he's another one that's going to play as well. Like I said, with 2 tight end sets, you're going to have to mix in a bunch of dudes. And they did it a ton last year. And I'm kind of expecting the same, I guess, this year. So you're going to have to get these guys in and out, whether it's a couple snaps here or there. But either or, I think all 4, if 3 or 4 or whatever it is are all going to play.
And what's great is just a couple of years ago, the tight end room was non-existent. So
yes,
and
that is true.
It's overcrowded. Okay, wide receivers. Same thing with the receivers. We could say the same thing at wide receiver because Bo Melton, and it was like trying to find a number 2. Come on, you got to be, because every year you would see all these recruits and even a bunch of 3 stars. It's like none of these guys are panning out. I mean, come on, Shameen Jones. Okay, and Isaiah Washington are kind of trading years as far as one's up, one's down. So if they could both put it together this year, that'd be great. Washington's the only one on the team with size. And they got Cruickshank and Youngblood, who, as good as they're going to be in the return game, especially Cruickshank because he was here last year and he's a lot more skilled as a receiver. That's going to be the chess piece that could really make this offense that much more dangerous if Cruickshank takes another step as a receiver.
Yeah, I know Melton obviously had nearly 700 yards last year. I think he had 6 or 7 touchdowns. I forget the exact number, but he had a heck of a year. He's starting to show that 4-star potential that we saw in him out of high school. I think that also is a big credit to Sean Gleason and even wide receivers coach Taekwon Underwood, who's just getting these guys open and in space for a change. Under Ash, these guys just weren't – their route running was atrocious. Their hands weren't the best. But I'm not going to blame the players, honestly. I hate to say it, but I'm going to blame that coaching staff for not teaching these guys a little more and how to adjust to the college game and the speed of the college level and the college game and all that. But Shameen Jones is another guy who stepped up last year a little bit. I guess you could call him a true number 2. He actually, I think he had 1 touchdown or 2 touchdowns in the spring game. He's going to step up and take that next step. He started out his career injured too, so now that these guys are fully healthy, they're going to make some noise. And the obvious one that you just talked about was Aron Cruickshank. I think he's 3 return touchdowns away from like the NCAA record, but besides the point, he's just a speedster out of that slot position. He's going to be used in all kinds of different ways. He's just I don't even know how to describe him other than he's just fast. Great hands, great route runner, and just really, really fast player in that slot who's going to cause havoc in the Big Ten this year, in my opinion.
It's incredible. Imagine getting both Youngblood and Cruickshank on the field at the same time, too. So,
yeah.
I'm sure Gleason is thinking about all sorts of weird gadgetry formations, and who knows what he's going to come up with.
It leads me back to that other point that I was saying about Vedral. Just get it in these guys' hands, and all 3 are very dangerous. So just let it happen. Let them do their thing with the ball, and you don't really have to chuck it down the field.
No, you don't. You're right. You don't.
Yep.
All right, the offensive line. Now, on one hand, yes, it's good that this is probably the best offensive line talent-wise that they've had in a long time. That just shows you how bad the offensive line has been over the years. So we are taking it at a certain level of, okay, we're excited about this is a good line, but there's still a long way to go. Would Crimmins, Sutton, and O'Neal, would they be like the 3 mainstay guys, or those are the top 3 guys in the offensive line?
Honestly, I'd argue there's only 2 mainstays at this point. I mean, Sutton hasn't been able to stay healthy, so that's the big part
you're not
him.
buying into Sutton, okay?
I mean, a lot of NFL scouts that I've talked to are very high on him. I just haven't seen it yet because he hasn't been healthy enough to see it. So
fair enough.
Plus, it doesn't help that I think throughout his 3-4 years here, whatever he's in now, he's played tackle, he's played guard, he's played center. Schiano actually mentioned the other day in a press conference, like they tried him at center. So it's just a matter of this guy's been everywhere, and
that's probably why the NFL likes him.
Yeah,
because he can play everywhere.
That's true, and I think he started out his career as a blocking tight end too. So it's kind of like it's insane to see everything he's done. But I think the potential could be there. He just needs to get a little bit meaner inside, and I think that's my big thing with offensive linemen. If you don't have the mean streak, you're not gonna succeed, in my opinion. Which it is what it is, but everyone has their opinions there. But I would say the only 2 that are like the mainstays would be Raekwon O'Neal at left tackle and Nick Crimmins at center. Other than that, there's a lot of mixing and matching, and it's nothing solidified yet.
And we also want to see that next step too with O'Neal. O'Neal's been a nice player, but he's not the player that Rutgers has talked about him becoming. We haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen that guy. So let's hope that this is, because that can make such a huge difference to the offensive line if he actually lives up to the expectation and all the talk that we've been hearing about O'Neal from this coaching staff for the past couple of years.
Yeah, he's another big guy. He's actually one of the best or highest rated recruits that Chris Ash actually landed. He chose Rutgers over his hometown school of South Carolina, which was a huge win for Rutgers at the time. But yeah, he's another guy. He just has to get a little bit meaner and probably work on his footwork a little here and there. But overall, he's probably the second, if not first, best offensive lineman on the team, which goes back to what we were talking about before. The offensive line's had its struggles throughout the Ash era, the Flood era, even dating back to Schiano's first tenure a little bit.
Sure. All right. So now there is, and I think the reason why it probably is a better line and we've seen it is because there's a little bit more depth. I talk about depth a lot. There's a difference between good depth and just depth. I mean, having depth sometimes can still be good, and I think that's what Rutgers is. It's not that this is real elite depth, but at least it's a deeper room because injuries are going to occur. And there's not a lot of difference, though, between, say, offensive lineman 4 and offensive lineman 8. So that could be a good thing if one or two of these guys gets injured. Out of some of the other backups, the 5 other linemen that are fighting for playing time, who has the highest upside?
Highest upside? It's an interesting one because I don't know if he'll start or not this year, but Holland Pierce, the tackle out of Trenton Catholic, he originally was a walk-on late last year, and Schiano and crew found him. I think he came in at like 6'7", 370 or 360, something like that, and he lost a ton of weight over the past year. He got it down to, I think they said 315, 320 area. Yeah, he's massive, but he came in as a walk-on. I wouldn't be shocked if he was on scholarship within the next year or so.
Okay.
It was a surprise because I think they added him in, I want to say it was October, and then all of a sudden, like late November area, he was on the 2 deep backup left tackle, and everyone's like, "Who the heck is this guy?"
Yeah.
And you see the size, you see the roster, and it's just like, "Oh my God, this kid's massive!" Like, so then, yeah, he lost a ton of weight. He won most improved offensive player this past spring at Rutgers, so he's going to be one to watch. He might not play a ton this year. Well, knock on wood, but
that's true.
yeah. So if he might not play a ton this year, but he could be a mainstay in this offensive line for the next couple of years.
Okay. And they seem to like Brian Felter.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he's only a freshman, so was he a second-year freshman, right?
Well, yeah, technically a second year because that year didn't count or whatever. But he's interesting. He started a couple games at guard last year. He can play center. He was originally recruited to play center because he's a little on the shorter side, but he's got that mean streak that you love. He's not afraid to basically punch a defensive lineman in the face.
Okay.
He's just got that nasty grittiness that you always want in like an interior guy.
Yes.
He's not afraid of anybody. I think he could be another one that's going to be a mainstay. Like you said, only a second-year freshman, so this kid's got so much time.
So he could eventually be the guy that takes over for Crimmin.
Yes, I'd like to think so. Just for the sole fact that, and on top of everything, he didn't have a training camp last year. And to think that a true freshman arriving in June didn't have a training camp and just played, I think it was 6-7 Big Ten games. It's kind of crazy to say. That's promising.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's got a ton of potential.
One of the Temple transfers. Hopefully, I'm not going to butch this. David Wagugu.
David Nagugu.
Nagugu.
Yeah,
okay,
Nagugu.
So we take away the W, and it's Nagugu. David Nagugu.
Yeah, took me about 3 months to get that right.
Okay. Is he overrated? Because as soon as he was picked up off the transfer portal, it was like, oh, Rutgers got an offensive lineman in the transfer portal. Is he just another guy?
No, he's just a little bit younger. He's still learning the position here and there. He came into Temple 2-3 years ago, whatever it was. I think like 60 pounds lighter. Within the first year of being at Temple, like I said, he added those 60 pounds of weight and muscle. So he's still learning a little bit. He's going to be in the rotation, I would assume. But again, he's just got to learn the position more. He's got to learn how to adjust with all that weight added. It's no crazy feat to add 60 pounds and not know what the heck to do.
That's true. Okay, good. We'll keep an eye on him. And then 2022 four-star Jacob Allen. Mm-hmm. He is as big a get almost as Wimsatt. This is huge because he's got the talent to become a 5-star almost. That's how talented he is. He's got to be a first-year starter.
No. I can't ever give an offense. I don't care how high you're rated. It's almost impossible for an offensive lineman to ever be like a first-year starter. That's why the Brian Felter kid's so incredible. The fact that he started 3-4 games or whatever it was, and then appeared in 6 total. But Allen's intriguing because he didn't play last year due to the COVID season.
Okay.
He finishes his blocks pretty well though. If you're going, I have to go based off his sophomore tape. So we're talking a year or so ago. I probably had 2 years, I guess now. But really finishes his blocks. Great lateral movement. Very powerful too, and that's where it's going to get intriguing. He can push some dudes around. I don't know if he'll play left or right tackle at Rutgers, but he's almost definitely a tackle. He's a decent pass blocker. He's going to have to work on that, but he's a very, very powerful run blocker. But again, he chose Rutgers over like the Penn State, Notre Dame, yes. Oklahoma, Auburn, Alabama hadn't offered him at one point. Miami. Now all of those committable at the time. Maybe not. No one really knows other than him. But the fact that he chose Rutgers as the number 1 kid in New Jersey is just saying something about Schiano and the belief they have in him to turn this program around.
Well, look, we could dream about 2023 tackle tandem of Allen and Pierce then.
Yes, pretty much.
That would be
Allen,
nice.
Pierce. There's a couple others in this class that I wouldn't sleep on either. There's
Who's
like
that?
the Nelson Monegro, who's pretty good. Okay. Kobe Asamoah is a pretty good interior guy. Joe DeCroce is another guy. They have a lot of guys in this class that are going to be very intriguing, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them start pretty early in their careers.
All right, let's flip on over to the defensive side, and let's see. Turdoff is back. Onyechi's back on the outside. The one that really impressed me last year, especially early on, was Julius Turner. Mm-hmm. He seemed to fade a little bit late. Maybe that's conditioning, but he really made a lot of plays, Julius Turner. I was very intrigued by how well he played. And then the other Temple transfer comes in. Now, again, let me see if I can get this. Is it Isaih Pacheco?
Yeah, hey, there you go.
All
Spot
right.
on.
Got it. Excellent. 1 out of 2 ain't bad. All right.
Yeah, no.
So that would be now. How does he compare to the other Temple transfer?
So Isaih Pacheco actually is coming in off a year where he was kind of dinged up a little bit at Temple, but in 2019, I think he was all first team, all American Conference defensive lineman.
Okay.
He's a very solid player. He looks the part. He's another guy who's just he's really mean in the trenches, and I'm not trying to overstate the importance of it, but it's just it's just super important. You got to be ferocious back there, especially on the defensive side, because you got to get to that quarterback and kind of want to like rip his head off.
But,
hey,
I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
that's what you want.
He's intense. He's very into the game. He's a man. Like he's a man. He is I think he's in his late or mid. No, I should say mid. He's a little older than the majority of these defensive linemen, being a 4th, 5th year guy, whatever it is.
Okay.
But he's definitely an intriguing piece.
He's definitely a big part of that line.
Oh yeah, 100%, without a doubt. And then going back to Turner, you said he kind of fell off a little bit, and I think he fell off a little bit due to the fact that Dwumfor was in and out, and Dwumfor being that guy stuffing here and right next to him would help him. But Turner overall, he's a little undersized. I think he's 5'10", 5'11", but he hits that pad level perfect thanks to his height a little bit. So I mean, once he hits that pad level, he gets just disrupting the interior, and it's I know Matt Millen talks about him a ton every time he's covering a Rutgers game, and it's just intriguing to see.
All right, so and as far as the outside on the edge up front, what else? I mean, Aaron Lewis, is he somebody to keep an eye on as far as some of the younger, more inexperienced players just up front on the defensive line?
Yeah, when we're talking younger guys, Aaron Lewis is probably the, I guess, immediate backup at defensive end behind either Tverdov or, I guess he's probably behind Tverdov, but the two mainstays on the ends are going to be Tverdov and Onyechi like last year. They had Ellen Lumor last year fit in a little bit here and there, but it's still going to be Onyechi on one side most likely and Tverdov on the other. And like you said before, Tverdov had a nice little ending to the season. I think he had 3 sacks in 3 games or something like that.
That's true.
So, he's going to cause a little bit of havoc. Yeah, he has his older brother who's always helping him train, who had a little stint in the NFL after his Rutgers career. But Mike Tverdov is going to be one to watch. Onyechi's going to be another solid guy. I think he had 2.5 sacks or something like that.
But the depth overall, is not there yet.
No, not there yet. But I actually think it's his last year, I believe, if I'm correct. But I think Tverdov's going to have a pretty big year. I wouldn't be surprised to see him double that sack number and get around 8 or 9, if not more. Well, I know he's aiming for higher, but we'll see what happens.
The linebacking unit, though, this is as good as it's gotten for Rutgers in a long time. Fatukasi broke out in a big way last year. I mean, Fogg was the one everybody was talking about, and he played well last year. But Fatukasi is the one that makes plays. Like you see Fatukasi doing things on the football field. That's the difference between some linebackers. Some linebackers like Fogg can roll up the tackle numbers, but some other linebackers actually do more than that, and that's Fatukasi. And if he just even takes another step forward this year, that would be huge for their defense.
Yeah, I think he definitely could have left and went to the NFL if he wanted to and been like a late round pick. But I think he'll probably end up being I think he's projected 5th round right now. But again, if he has a season like he did again, he's only going to go up from there.
Patriots will probably pick him in the 4th round or something like that.
Of course. Either that or maybe Schiano's buddy down in Jacksonville and Urban Meyer.
That's true. Yeah.
Got a couple options now. Plus, I mean, Chris Ash is down there too. So
no. Don't bring that up.
But Fatukasi is interesting. He's a true sideline-to-sideline linebacker. He hits like a ton of bricks. I remember his freshman year, he whacked one of the running backs so hard, and everyone's just like, "Who the heck is that guy?" And it's just like, "Oh, that's Olakunle Fatukasi." And it's just ever since then, like you fell in love with his game, and it's improved every year. It's only gotten better. He was a captain last year. I think he has potential to be like one of the best linebackers in the country. Like I said last year, he was a Nagurski semifinalist. So I mean, it's gonna not Nagurski. I take it back. He was a Nagurski watch list Buckus semifinalist. Okay. So, but definitely an very interesting player, and I think he's only going to go up from here.
And the future looks really bright. You've got Toure, who's already on the team, making some noise. Maybe the top recruit, true freshman Kerry Banton. And then you've got the two the two 4-stars, Walker and Johnson, coming in next year. So Schiano's getting this linebacking group. I mean, this is starting to look like, even though it's strong now, that there won't be much of a drop-off, hopefully, if these young kids can come in right away and perform. But talk about those young guys, and especially the ones that are on the team now, Toure and Bant.
Yeah, Toure right away. He's kind of in between linebacker, defensive end. Schiano told us at the beginning of camp he was their leading sack guy last year with 4.5. He's the cousin of Kamoko Toure, former Rutgers, current Colts defensive end / hybrid. I don't even know what you want to call him at this point. It's like a rush end, I guess.
Edge rusher.
To make it, to edge rusher, to make it simple. He does both, but he's the younger cousin of him. He's taken on a lot of his traits. He's just extremely fast off that edge that these tackles can't keep up most of the time. I think he's going to have a ton of sacks this year, whether it's being used at third down like he was predominantly last year, or whether it's first, second, and then third. He's going to play a ton of snaps. He's going to rotate in, and then other than him at linebacker, Kyrie Banton is one that's going to be intriguing. He was a 4-star at Newark West Side. He reminds me a lot of Kashim Green, another sideline-to-sideline guy who could literally step in the role of Fatukasi next year, and I don't know if you'd notice a difference. That's how I'm very, very high on him. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player, future NFL guy without a doubt.
Awesome. So he'll play this year then?
Yeah, I think he'll sub in here and there.
Okay. And then Walker and Johnson, the two 4-stars coming in 2022. Are they as advertised, you think? They're going to be as advertised?
I'd say Walker, yes, 100%. He's another guy who's out of New York. Similar school to what Fatukasi played at out in New York at Walker's at Erasmus Hall. Fatukasi was at Grand Campus, I believe it was, or Grand Street Campus. They're both very big football programs in the state of New York. Very good player, but Johnson intrigues me a little because he's already 6'2", 250, and you kind of don't want him to gain anymore because at that point you're going to have to drop him down. But that was a big knock on him, and if they can keep that weight at like a certain level, then I think he could be a very dominant middle linebacker, but it's a matter of just making sure he doesn't pack on too much and lose that speed that he has currently.
Okay. And then in the secondary, the transfer from North Carolina, Rene, the most impactful transfer, would you say?
Yeah, I'd probably say yeah. I'd probably agree with that.
To say we would predict that he will end up being.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. I'll agree with that. He was a 3rd-round pick in the CFL draft recently. I didn't even know that was like a thing for college kids still.
I know.
Or still playing.
Yeah.
It's a very weird situation, but so he has NFL potential. He played pretty well at North Carolina over the years. He was actually committed to Rutgers out of high school. I'm sure you know that, if most Rutgers fans do. But he decommitted late under Ash. He's just kind of a lockdown type corner. He's that tall, lengthy corner that the Schiano and defensive back coach Fran Brown really love. I think he's 6'2", 6'3", around there. Overall, if he could stay healthy, he's a pretty damn good corner. So add that with the guys like Trey Avery, who had a hell of a year, and then I'm trying to think who else they have. Malachi Melton, who had a heck of a year too as a freshman last year. So I mean, they have a nice little defensive back setup.
Out of Max Melton, and then Elijah Clark now comes in.
Mm-hmm.
How do they compare?
I definitely say Clark's a little more lengthy. He's going to be he'll be a 4-year starter in my opinion. Maybe not this year, but I think even if he redshirts, he'll be a 4-year starter at the end of the day. He's a very, very good player. I actually pegged him as the starter at safety originally, but now I'm kind of going back on my word, I guess, a little bit.
Why is that?
But he's other guys are just stepping up.
Like
Avery,
the older guys, yeah.
Yeah, they've moved Avery Young around from safety to corner this past spring, and then they're rotating him to see what happens there. He's another guy who started his career pretty early. I think he started all 10, 11 games as a freshman a couple years ago. So he's one that's going to be interesting. And then Christian Isian's not going anywhere. That kid is phenomenal despite his lack of height, and I think he's like 5'10", 5'11". He's been a heck of a safety. He had I think SportsCenter top 10 play last year as an interception. Yeah, that's what it was. And
is he going to? He's got what it takes to even have a bigger year now.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't be shocked if they voted him captain. He's been very vocal around the guys, and he's been coaching them up. There's a lot of young dudes, like you said before, in Melton and Clark and so on and so on. And they've been he's been the one that's been coaching up the most, actually.
Who were those names you mentioned? Who was the one that you mentioned that's coming in that's going to be a move up to a 4-star?
Oh, 2022, Davison Igbinison.
Yes, he's a DB.
He's a cornerback, yes, out of Union. He's a very, very good prospect. We get in arguments about this all the time about rankings, and it just goes back and forth between like, I like this guy more, or he likes that guy more. Yeah. And this is one kid that I think should be rated the number 1 defensive back in the state. He should be. I think we have him rated at 7 right now. It shows. I think he should be a little higher than that, maybe even like 3 or 4. But he's a phenomenal kid, and he's only going to get better. If you watch his tape, he's just such a good corner lockdown. He's fast, he's quick, good ball instincts.
What's his size?
I think he's 6'3", actually.
Oh, okay. So there you go.
Yeah. So like I said, they love finding these like tall, lengthy corners. And even safety too. It's a big thing under Fran Brown and Schiano, and it's something that they kind of look for. You kind of see in the recruiting trails now.
What kind of hire has Fran Brown been, huh? Oh my Lord.
Yeah, I don't know if you can you might be able to argue that there's not a better hire recruiting wise in the country. He's locked down South Jersey. He's got the Philly area kind of getting a little locked down here and there. They're stealing recruits from Penn State now.
Yeah.
They have the top 2 Jersey kids for the first time in I don't even know how long it's been.
Yeah,
probably
because
since
who's
Schiano's
from Pennsylvania? Anthony Johnson's from Pennsylvania. Who else is from Pennsylvania that's coming in? That's the top guys.
Sam Brown,
like
mentioned. I think it might be the only 2 from Pennsylvania, actually.
The top 2, though, that 2 of the top guys are coming in next year. So
yeah, but like you said, there's always been Penn State's always been a mainstay in New Jersey. Michigan's been a mainstay in New Jersey. Even Michigan State's stolen recruits under Chris Ash and stuff like that. That can't happen anymore. No, and you can kind of see it starting to flip around a little bit, and you're seeing more and more guys want to be like, hey, we're going to stay home and build this thing at Rutgers, and it's incredible. It's whether it's Schiano selling guys, Fran Brown selling guys, Jim Panagos is another great recruiter on the defensive line. Taekwon Underwood is a guy who can kind of sell it based on the fact that he was there when they had the 2006 season when they were number 10, 7 in the country, whatever it was. So it's definitely interesting. Too. Yeah, Sean Gleason, the guy recruited one of the the highest rated quarterback in Rutgers school history. So
that's going to be interesting because we all know that the team's going to do well if they do well, especially on offense. Gleason's going to be gone soon. So what you're hoping though is you keep paying him off as long as until he feels he finds the perfect job. Because you know he's going to go eventually. You're just hoping that you can keep paying him off a couple of years down the road so he doesn't go, I'm not going to take that job. It's a head coaching job, but I'm going to wait. I'm getting paid well. Yeah. I'm in my home state. I'm not in a rush. Mm-hmm. We can only hope because sooner or later we're going to have to find somebody that is going to be like his right-hand man or something that could take over when he leaves.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with him is like when he was at Oklahoma State, I think the biggest reason from what I've heard like through back channels and stuff is that like his family hated living in Oklahoma compared to growing up in Jersey. So it's definitely a culture shock. I mean,
sure.
But the fact that they came back is very telling. He's the highest paid assistant in school history, and I think they're willing to keep him that for quite some time. But like you said, there's not like until he finds that perfect head coaching job, I don't think he leaves for another coordinator job unless the NFL comes saying
it has to be a head coaching job.
Yeah, 100% a head coaching job. Unless an NFL team comes and is like, hey, like we're going to offer you double your salary to come coach the NFL. Okay, like see ya. Sorry.
Coach the Giants or something. Oh, I could stay in New Jersey and coach the Giants.
Anything other than James Garrett, and I'm in.
Oh, there you go. So watch out. Special teams. We already talked about Cruickshank and Youngblood. This could be the best special teams unit in the entire country. It's all up to the kicker, right? Place kicker?
Yeah, it's probably up to the kicker at that point. I know. I think Phil Steele rated him the number 1 in the Big Ten. So I mean, that's right away. You're already what? If you're gonna go Power Fives, I guess are better than Group Fives for the most part. So top 5. They have one of the best punters in a Ray Guy semifinalist in Adam Korsak, who's I don't even know how to describe him anymore. It's just amazing to watch the kid punt.
I know.
He's had so much experience.
I don't want him to leave. He's been so good.
It's tough. Yeah. It's really tough, but he's an intrigue. He could be an NFL guy, actually.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I think he pinned 20-something punts last year within the 20-yard line. There's punts where we see it bounce. He does that Aussie-style punt, and it's it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it works so
Bounces
well.
the right way.
And it just bounces the right way. I think he had a 74-yard punt. It's the longest in school history. Last season or year before, I can't remember which one it was. But other than him, the 2 kick returners, you have the 2019 Big 12 kick returner of the year in Joshua Youngblood. Then you have 2020. I don't know if Cruickshank was a Big 10 kick returner. I think they kind of screwed him out of that one, but that's besides the point. But Cruickshank had 3 returns for touchdowns last year. He's 3 away from tying the NCAA record for most returns for scorers. And you add those 2, and then the Valentino Ambrosio, who's the kicker, who was a soccer player 2 seasons ago. He hit a couple 40-yarders last year, and he looks decent. So this unit is very intriguing. There's a guy in Larry Stevens who's on scholarship, originally came as a walk-on, who's been a special teams gunner, who's been phenomenal, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him make it in the league as a special teamer for a little bit.
Larry Stevens, okay.
Yeah, he's one to watch. Overall, the special teams unit's just it's incredible to watch. And then when it comes to blocking kicks, that's like Schiano's mantra. They always try to block the kick, and that makes it 10 times more fun to watch. So I mean, it's intriguing. I think they blocked 1 or 2 last year. It was, I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, we have to double that this year.
Yeah, they should, I would think. But
that,
they know he knows what he's doing when it comes to special teams.
And like you said, it's fun. And when you're when you're looking for ways to steal points, because you haven't yet caught up to some of the other big schools, then you got to steal points on special teams. So
yeah, like I think we saw it last year. There's a punt return with I guess Cruickshank actually fielded it, and no one saw Bo Melton on the complete other side of the field, and it's a whole field lateral.
Was that the Ohio State game?
I believe it was.
Okay, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff like that, like they're gonna get creative. When you have 2 of the best kick returners in the nation, you're gonna get pretty creative, and it's gonna be interesting.
And then that crazy, I know it is special teams, but of course the one where we almost scored on that crazy,
like 8-9 lateral, same thing. And O'Neal chucks it like this backwards. It's like, what the heck? And it's technically, I guess, it's scored, but.
Yeah, that penalty that was like, come on.
I would honestly, at that point, you're down like what, 20? Just give it to him.
I know. Come on. What are you doing? Take the fun out. All right, let's take a look at the schedule as we wrap up here. Temple next Thursday. So, and look, the schedule wise, even though none of these are walkovers, because you have Temple and Syracuse is on the road, they're a rival at this point still. And then you have Delaware, an FCS team, which is actually one of the better FCS programs. So that is not a walkover. So I like the fact that we're not playing Howard, and it's also good that we're not playing Alabama. We're playing teams that we should beat at this point, but teams that will also make us work. So by the time we get to that first really big test against, was it Michigan, I believe, week 4?
Yeah, that's week 4.
We'll at least be prepared like we should be.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Temple game is going to be a little intriguing, and it will kind of tell you where the team's at here and there. But end of the day, the line should be bigger and stronger than the Temple offensive and defensive line, and I think that's where it's going to win you the game. I think the spread right now is around like 10, I believe, 10.5 or something like that. It might be more. I haven't checked.
It might be like 13. Yeah.
Oh, it might have went up then. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident they get that win. I think Syracuse is actually the worst of the 3 in the out of conference schedule. I think Delaware is actually a better team than them. I think Dino Babers is on the hot seat. Then the Delaware game is the one that really catches my eye, just for the sole fact that this Delaware team is a lot of lower ranked recruits that are a couple Jersey guys, and like Gene Coleman, a wide receiver who I think put up nearly 1,000 yards last year. He led them, or helped lead them, to the FCS semifinal where they lost to the runner-up in South Dakota State. They're a good team, but at the end of the day, the same thing as like Temple. They're not going to have the bodies or like the depth up front on either side of the ball to even keep up. So it should be 3-0 heading into Michigan, and that's where things get kind of interesting.
Well, that's the one after, especially what happened last year. I mean,
yeah,
but Michigan is going to be a different team, though. Unfortunately, I felt like we had our chance almost to get that win because Michigan was down in the dumps psychologically, and you could tell because they fired almost half their coaching staff when the season was over. All the kids are talking this offseason about how much happier they are. they got now 2 really good quarterbacks. So it's going to be. I think this is going to be a much better Michigan team, but Rutgers is going to be better too. So. We'll see.
Yeah, most definitely. This Michigan team is going to be interesting. But going into the game 3-0, compared to Michigan, who plays Washington, number 20 Washington, and Northern Illinois is probably a win for them. But if they can go 3-0 into Michigan, they have a shot. They'll have the confidence to boost a little bit, and then we'll see what happens there. But end of the day,
Ohio
like
State's
said,
next, right?
Yeah, that's that. I'm just going to say that's an L.
No,
That's a loss.
Yeah.
That is a big loss. That C.J. Stroud or whoever the hell's that quarterback for them is probably going to dominate with Chris Olave over there and all that.
Yeah.
There's no way around that. You could put up a fight. You could put up 25, 27 points or whatever. You're still probably lost.
Yeah, we're 2 or 3 years at least away from being able to compete with Ohio State.
Ohio State's always going to be right there. It's going to be a tough one.
Before I let you go, the other thing too is as far as X's and O's on defense, the one thing that concerns the heck out of me, and I'm sure most Rutgers fans and the coaching staff, is the run defense.
Yeah, that struggled bad, and that goes back to that Illinois game we were talking about. I think they gave up over 100-something yards to the quarterback alone, rushing yards. It's just it's scary to say. But with Fatukasi back, a healthy Fog ideally, I'd argue a better defensive line, even though it's mostly the same. Losing Dwumfor, adding MyJ, another year of everyone getting older, more experienced. The training camp, like I said, the spring game, spring practices are all going to help make that defense take another level up, I guess. Overall, I think the defense is going to be very good. The offense is what concerns me the most, but I'm very confident in this defense.
I'm surprised you said that. So the offense actually the offense does scare you because of the quarterback situation.
Honestly, at the end of the day, it's the line. There's
still not sold on the offensive line.
I'm not 100% sold on it yet. It's the Big Ten. That's all it is.
Yes,
is interior. It's the trenches. That's all it is. You got to fight in those trenches. If you win the trenches, you win the game for the most part. So it's going to be intriguing to see what this O-line can do. A lot of question marks still. A lot of, can this guy do that? Can he reach his potential? So that's what worries me the most. But I would say the defense is, under Schiano, defense is always going to be pretty good in my opinion.
Richie, great job. I appreciate it. Hopefully this is the first of many talks that we can have because, as I said, I could definitely use a Rutgers insider here on the network, and you definitely qualify as that. What else do you do besides the information at Rivals? Do you have your own podcast and or YouTube show?
No, we usually do a post-game show on YouTube. It's actually Rutgers Football, so no one took the Rutgers Football username on
YouTube channel.
Yeah, no one had the Rutgers Football username, and I saw it and I was like, hey, that's mine now. Yeah, we do a couple shows once in a while during the season, just recapping stuff and talking post-game with fans.
That's the thing.
Yeah, we'll do post-game shows.
How long after every game?
As soon as that presser is done, so probably about a half hour or so after the game, and we'll do a live stream show. We try to do it almost every game. It's getting a little difficult now because now we actually have to go to the stadium again. Oh darn, right? But we're on there. I do not a ton of podcasts actually. I'm not a big podcast person, but I'm writing articles every other day on the website, whether it's recruiting, like I said, or team news, or practice report today, all kinds of stuff. Where everything. If you follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, we have every outlet. It's just all Rutgers 24/7, nothing else.
Richie, appreciate it. Again, we'll talk to you again, hopefully real soon, and we'll talk to you again for sure at some point during the season, definitely. Rich.
Yeah, sounds good. Just let me know when, and we'll set it up.
Thanks, Rich. Talk to you next time.
Yep, talk to you soon.